It's that time of year, making the rounds, and we're handing out our Best of awards. You didn't win this year. Brian Campbell alongside Todd Grisham will be joined by Dan Rafael briefly. Terence Crawford, the ESPN.com Fighter of the Year. What a year he had, going 3-0, and he even made Warren Buffett and everyone in Omaha a fight fan. Brian, what was so special about Crawford in 2014?
Look, Todd, we got to see a fighter with our own eyes actually make that leap throughout his 3 fights. Saw him go from really the prospect contender level and make that leap to champion and really star on the rise, and what he did in those 3 lightweight fights. I also have to really point out what he did against Yuriorkis Gamboa when he went in there, was down early. Then we got to see him rally back, showed you more of an action style, something maybe we didn't know that he had. But I think he did one other thing, Todd, and you mentioned it with Omaha. We saw a star on the rise in the fact that he can go into his hometown and be a true ticket seller. Somebody, there's no pro sports franchise there, but they have Terence Crawford. You don't see a lot of fighters today doing that.
We've got Las Vegas, we've got Branson, Missouri, and now we've got Omaha, Nebraska, thanks to Terence Crawford. Let's bring in our ESPN boxing insider, Dan Rafael. Coming into this year, Dan, was Crawford even on the map to be in contention for this award?
You know, he really wasn't. I mean, people, I don't think, expected that he would have the 3 fights that he did. Coming into the year, everybody knew he was going to get an opportunity to fight Ricky Burns for one of the lightweight belts. But even if he were to go and win that fight, I don't think anybody could have expected the kind of performances that he had. So that just goes to show you that you can come in to a year being a highly regarded up-and-coming contender or prospect, and if you do the business inside the ring, which is exactly what Terence Crawford did, you're going to be rewarded with a lot of, admiration and a lot of people saying all the good things that you did. And Terence Crawford did that, and he's a worthy winner of this award. There was other good candidates, that we could talk about. Sergey Kovalev, of course, had a huge year, but Terence Crawford gets the nod. He had a hell of a year, and I think he's primed for big stuff next year also.
He did have a hell of a year, and Brian, I know this vote was not unanimous. Terence Crawford does win the award. Who did you think should have been our Fighter of the Year in 2014?
Dan brought up his name. It's Sergey Kovalev in my eyes. But look, Crawford very deserving here. But this has been a tough year for boxing. It's not like last year where you had really 5, maybe even 6 names who you could really make a strong case for. This year, 2-man race. But really, I'm pointing to Kovalev in the fact that, okay, maybe you don't give put a lot of weight on his first 2 victories early in the year, but he faced unbeaten guys, southpaws, slick guys, knocked both of them out. What we're really looking at with Kovalev is that one fight, the light heavyweight unification bout against Bernard Hopkins. He may have been the betting favorite, but from a critical standpoint, from media members, in a lot of ways, he was the underdog, because I think Kovalev walked into a fight where he had as much to lose as he had really to win. He didn't just come out and, get an early knockout where maybe you're still not going to give him the full credit. I know he faced a 49-year-old guy, but we saw Kovalev show you that he's not just a limited guy, not maybe just a big knockout puncher. There's so much more wrinkles to his game. Todd came out really with a masterpiece performance, announced himself. His division is a lot deeper than Terence Crawford's is at lightweight. I'm going to shade my vote that way to Sergey Kovalev.
A couple of other honorable mentions. Triple G had a great year. Manny Pacquiao, of course, as well. Dan, let's get back to Crawford, though. What do you see for him in 2015? He says he's going to move up in weight.
Well, he is. He's planning on moving up to 140 pounds, and if he does that, there's definitely some good prospects for him in that weight class. And if you take a look at the sanctioning bodies, which sometimes are going to dictate who goes which direction, because he had the WBO's lightweight belt, he can put himself in a mandatory position immediately for the organization's 140-pound title, which was recently stripped away from Chris Algieri when he moved up to fight Pacquiao. So if you take a gander at their ratings, there is a scenario in which we could potentially see Terence Crawford taking on the former title holder Ruslan Provodnikov. I'm not saying that's going to be his next fight, but I think that's a fight that will be looked at very closely if it happens. That's a very significant fight, a very good fight. But if it's not him, there's other fighters that his promoter, Top Rank, can look at, whether it's a Jesse Vargas fight. They could try to make maybe a fight with Chris Algieri. There's different things to do. So he's primed for something interesting in the early part of next year. But in the longer run, I mean, this is a guy that Top Rank is talking about, and I know Terence Crawford would love it because I spoke to him about it, that they view him in the future as a possible opponent for Manny Pacquiao, who's thinking about coming down a few pounds in weight. Crawford has already fought a few fights in his career at 140, so it's not as though there's really a size disparity to a big degree. And a Pacquiao-Crawford fight down the road could be a pretty big deal.
Crawford versus Provodnikov, Crawford versus Pacquiao. They'd sell a lot of tickets no matter where it was. Omaha, Vegas, Atlantic City, doesn't matter.
Put it on the moon, I'd be watching it.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Terence Crawford, our Fighter of the Year. To find out who won the rest of our ESPN.com awards, check out the boxing page right here on ESPN.com. For Dan Rafael and Brian Campbell, he gave me a point. I'm Todd Grisham. Keep fighting.